Also, I read a lot of the tip sheets and things that were on that website. They have kind of like a summary of the 4 steps that they recommend, and
Mhm.
they're good. They're quite good, but I wanted to kind of run them past you guys as well and just see kind of what your interpretation. It's like all of these steps link back to a bunch of other resources that help you with the steps, and there's a lot of like learning resources. But so what for those steps, what we have is 1, use fact checking tools. And then it says, see if a fact checker
Mhm.
like Snopes.com has debunked the story. Is that still solid advice?
Mhm. Yeah, if you just do, it can be any sort of internet search, put in there debunked or is this misinformation or anything like
Mm.
that. The key is not to just click on the top result. Don't just look at the AI result. You actually have to scroll and look at, just do a scan of all the information and hopefully Snopes has done it because they still do debunk things. But generally, if it is a pretty well-known scam or disinformation campaign, it'll be debunked online somewhere.
You,
There'll be multiple sources. That's what you're
so you
looking
can
for.
use like keywords to your advantage there of like specifically. I've done that
Yep.
a lot with like if I'm about to buy something on a shady looking website, you just look up like scam at the end and then. But you've touched on something that like I don't even know
Yeah.
how we get. I don't even know where to start when it comes to those AI generated like in
Mhm.
terms of disinformation and misinformation. Like I what I can't even touch that yet. Back burner.
Need a whole season on
But
AI, I think.
yeah.
And I think maybe
Yeah.
what you're even if Snopes has debunked something or even if some like you still don't know for sure. Like it's just such like a convoluted huge problem. But I think that if a person is looking at like a piece of information that seems dangerous and they take the minute to Google and actually like verify it, even if it doesn't change their mind or it doesn't have a huge impact, it's more critical thinking and it's causing them to like use their brains a little bit more than just like reading a title and sharing it and not looking at the article and whatever, which is like how a lot of this stuff blows up really quickly.
It's a lot of it's been like
Like we need to,
engineered specifically.
yeah, I'm thinking we need to introduce more friction into our information landscape so the lie doesn't spread around the world in seconds rather than, at
Mhm.
least a few minutes.
Well, we can talk too about like if there's any other Snopes.com go-to websites that you guys have because that seems like one of the most straightforward. If you do trust a site like Snopes, but then let's say you like look into no,
I don't even think there is though. Yeah, like I,
yeah,
I I don't know, Diane, you might disagree, but to me it's one of those it's like how we used to be able to teach checklists and then we were good and things were done. But now it's like, oh, Snopes is good and this website's good, but I don't know, they might not be good tomorrow.
mm,
Like sometimes when I'm looking for
yes,
disinformation and looking for debunking, I end up on like Reddit and I'm just
yeah,
looking at what people are talking about and what sites they're linking to and what information they have. And it really is like a full-time job. Like you
yeah.
really have to think about it a lot.
Which and it's interesting to situate Reddit specifically in the context of comment sections. Those that's just a big comment section, right?
Yeah.
And it does link to so this
But the
comes.
person looking at it, the person looking at it has to be the one doing the critical thinking
Mhm,
and looking at where like who's saying it and where it's coming from and stuff like that, which is
right.
the essence of what we try to teach.
Well, so that leads well into the second step. It says of find the source on the website. Click on the link in a social media post to take you to the original story so you can see if it comes from a trusted source. Even that, like I could literally like create a one-to-one complete copy of a legitimate news source and then like an exact replica of the website with like one
Yeah.
difference in the URL up at the top. And it can be a totally different.
That
Yeah.
happens.
So it like
Happens
you
all the
said,
time.
it's like there's
Yeah.
and then I guess you have to say, well, then click around. Also make sure that it actually is the website and not an
Mhm.
HTML of what it looked like at
And
one
that's
point.
exactly what we would say.
Right.
That's exactly what we would tell people to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, this one's actually don't know I don't know if it's
No.
possible. Sometimes it's really easy to find the source. If it's a really good source, they're not hiding themselves. They don't need to. You can just click and you're going to end up at an authoritative website. But I am sure there are plenty of things that I have looked at online where it's like a meme or something like that. Good luck trying to find where that originated, what's the purpose of it, who started it. No, you're never going to find it. And the best articles I've read are people that have tried to do this, like journalists and professionals that have tried to research it back. And the places they end up is fascinating. But I think that would be very challenging with a lot of our social media to get back to the source. But I think a good source doesn't need to hide itself. So if you can click on it and then follow back to the information and get back to the original data and the original study, if it's a good source, that's all going to be there.
And often many social stories or articles or memes especially won't have link. Like that is extremely common, but people don't pay attention to that or notice that. And then they share, this thing that says, I don't know, a banana gave me HIV or something like that, or a banana gave someone HIV and the bananas were from China and whatever. And then this causes like a massive hysteria, but it doesn't link to anything and it doesn't have any evidence. This is something we see very commonly.
Right.
And with all of these situations, we would always say, like when we're teaching it in the classroom, for instance, we would always say, okay, you've gotten back to the source. Now, who is the author?
Mm.
You need to find out a little bit about them.
Mm.
And you need to understand this a little bit. And sometimes it is a terrible source or it's a duplicate website or a copycat news site or something like that. And then the student learns something or the person learns something.
Well, now that is the other two steps are to verify the source and to check other sources, which is pretty much what you've...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we were going to talk about it in the library, we'd probably call it lateral reading. And it just means like if something is true, probably many places have said the exact same thing or something similar. And so that's always a good way to check whether or not. And like in different areas too, don't just, oh, I seen it on Facebook 5 times. No, go to the internet, go to books, go to different sources. And if everything's saying the same thing, you can probably trust it.
For those people who just have like just enough time to double check something and then not share something dangerous, like thank goodness they did that, right? Would be my thought on that.
Right.
You could just live, I'm going to go a little extreme here, and you could just live a life of not sharing. Like that's the life I'm living. I don't share stuff on social media. I just don't do it. And then I never have this problem. So that is always an option too.
You just
So there
never
are
log
people who
into
argue
anything.
that
Do you never log into anything? Like, or do you have accounts that you just don't post anything?
I only have a couple accounts and I never post.
Does that keep you kind of safe from any algorithm manipulation? Or is that still gonna...
Oh, no, I'm still getting fed exactly what they want me.
Yeah.
No, they've figured me out. Like I buy stuff online, so they know who I am.
Right. I think about that all the time when I like get
Yeah,
distracted by
all of
something and I've accidentally been watching an ad for like the stupidest that's something that like baby like diapers or something. Like something has nothing to do with my life, and then it's everywhere because now I'm like these very advanced algorithms do not care about like the quality of your engagement. They just care about getting you to engage. So we've all come back to kind of and this website is as well of like the source, verifying the source, understanding the source, believing in the source is pretty key to this. Now, we used to live in a world where like the White House was a credible source. That's not really the case anymore. We're like knowing exactly where it came from and knowing that it's from an institution. Increasingly, it seems like the motivations of the source itself are important to think about in terms of critical thinking. And there's kind of like this philosophical relationship, which you guys touched on quite a bit actually in the book, how much of media literacy now is like self-reflection and philosophically or like critically looking at who's benefiting from this, who gets anything out of this and why. So
funny because I remember I used to tell my students .gov was a reliable and like there's no way I would say that now.
Really?
But I think you can generally say like that any sort of ending now, .gov, .edu, that's just, again, It's not a good way to evaluate a
Mhm.
website. It's just their address.
It used to be. It
Yeah.
used to be like if it's edu or
It
if
used to
it's
be really good.
this, then yes, it's good. It became that anybody could buy almost any domain, and I mean, we all know what's going on. I honestly, even any government website, you would have to think like, what's the purpose behind this? What is the motive behind this? Not insinuating all governments are untruthful, but they have motives also.
Yeah, the purpose can be the well-being of citizens. There's that the
Yeah.
purpose often of government websites, but read it and determine, is that the case? And if it is, great. That's going to be good information generally.
Well, I wanted to read this. This was published in 2022. It's on one of those break the fake tip sheets. It's trying to explain to kids in 2022 how important critical thinking is in disinformation. And I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this quote. I think it kind of actually really encapsulates the root of the issue, or kind of, I guess, it presents an interesting hypothesis, or potentially could be why people fall for these things. But it's quote, "We pay attention to things that fit with what we already think is true. That's not always a bad thing. Science, medicine, and other subjects all have a consensus. What experts believe is most likely true based on all the evidence that's been found so far. It's important to know what the consensus is on a topic when you're judging a claim or a new piece of information. And it's important not to reject something because it doesn't match what you already think or believe." And they specifically go into that. They're talking about a legitimate cognitive hindrance that we as humans experience, cognitive bias or confirmation bias, where if you already believe something and you see information that reinforces that, you're more likely to just immediately accept that. And something that questions that, you're not as likely to go anywhere into it.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to bring up is that this is in a lot of ways like what people are doing when they pull up the comment section a little bit, because it totally makes sense to me that like people going from the comment section, like I think like during COVID especially, that was a really dangerous place. I'm wondering now if there's a a happy medium between, because people like, I would say like institutional distrust, or like people's anger and resentment of institutions is skyrocketed. It's so high. In a lot of ways, like what people are doing when they pull up the comments, they're looking for like the public consensus, not the shaped message that the media has given you, sort of thing. And it could be an advantage that now we have both. Like we do have the official message and we have the public's reaction to it. The only thing is it's potentially not the public at all, even. That could be entirely the dead internet, AI bots reinforcing their own ideas, and for who knows what reasons. So I just, Nina and Diane, how do you think people should view comment sections in relation to when they're also trying to verify a source? Do you think there's any value to be like there's definitely some good jokes usually in the comment section. I love some good roasts usually. But what do you guys think?
Well, first what I'll say is we do talk about confirmation bias in the book, and we talk about actually a lot of different sort of psychological, I don't know if a lot, but some other psychological things that happen to individuals when they are, one has to do with repetition, which is the more times you see something, the more likely you are to believe it, which leads to a lot of spread of false information as well. And these are like proven psychological things. And you mentioned confirmation bias. And yeah, essentially it's exactly what you said, Alexis. It's you see something that you already believe to be true. It gives you this like emotional feeling of vindication, like, yes, I knew I was right. And then you sort of want to like shove it in everybody else's faces because, maybe a lot of people in your circle don't agree with you or something like that. And I think the really important thing to think about, and maybe this could go to comment sections as well, because on comment sections, you're going to have people who agree with the thing that they're looking at, and you're going to have people who disagree with the thing that you're looking at. So perhaps it is an okay place to do some more thinking for the individual who's looking at it. And that leads to my point of both sides of any issue have confirmation bias.
Mm.
And I often speak to my students about this, and generally library people, which is who I educate, are like quite progressive. Like we're quite progressive thinkers. We're like on the side of good for everyone. You know, we believe in climate change, all those sorts of things. And I will say to them, like, you will also get stuck into an echo chamber of climate change is true. Let's just use that as an example. That could lead you astray into certain like areas of information that is not true. Like you also need to like pull back and look at the other side of the issue and consider that, you know, every view that you have is not necessarily correct either, even though you think it's the good view or the right view. So perhaps a comment section could operate in that way. I do feel like on a lot of media sources, though, comment sections are sort of getting shut down, or I feel like they're not like the breeding ground that they once were. We just need to be aware that it's a well-rounded issue, and even if you are the progressive thinker, you get stuck too. You will get stuck too into like certain things. Like I like electronic cars is like something that I think I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if I want to bring this up because I don't actually know any facts about it, but I feel like at one point I was like, yeah, electronic cars. And then like after learning some facts, I was like, oh, maybe they're not good for the environment,
Yeah.
actually. Like I thought they were. But wait, which is good, which is bad? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Like I have no idea. So I can't really have a strong opinion about what sort of cars people should drive. And that's sort of what people need to get back to is like, why are you fighting this fight? Why are you online fighting this fight if you are not an expert and you don't actually understand the issue that you're looking at? Maybe leave it to the experts and I can't remember what you referred to it as, Alexa, like the common consensus.
Keep all
The really cool thing about confirmation bias is the minute you know it exists is the minute it will stop working. So anyone that's listening has heard that confirmation bias is a thing, and now they will be slightly more aware next time they see something that it is happening to them. It's less likely to continue. As soon as you know about it, it goes away.